cats. It's like herding smoky cats. Are we live now?
Yeah, we're doing it.
What a perfect intro for us to come into.
So here we are.
Our
personal development podcast. 1st of December, so it's the official Vialucci Personal Development Day.
Oh yeah, because you start your new year on the 1st.
Well, I don't, because mine are every single day. So personal development resolution, your New Year's resolution,
yes,
is 1st of December. That's
right.
when officially you should be starting all your resolutions,
when you
if
say
you are going to have them.
When you say officially, do you mean this is something that personal development as a kind of thesis calls for, or something?
No, it's I am personal development. I loan out personal development to the word personal development, so it can be used, but it refers to me. So if
you are personal development,
I am
flesh.
it. I am
I'm personal development panda.
Well, that is.
No, don't worry. That's a South Park rip-off.
Okay.
Anyway, Karen.
So my thing on my personal development journey is you have failed in your journey of self-improvement.
Yes.
If you go along with the beginning of the year, new you, January 1st, all the bullshit that's on the TVs about, well, what are we going to do this year, and your resolutions and all the phone-ins about what you're going to do, all that shit. It's basically, if you do want to change things about your life, you start on December the 1st, because that's the hardest month to do it on. If you have any excuses, which there are excuses, family, got to do this, got the staff party, there's no point, I've got to drink, I've got parties, I can't not, this, blah, blah, blah. Any excuses tell you if you're full of shit or not. So if there are excuses, it means you're full of shit, and other people's parties and that and the family, that's more important than your self-improvement. If you do believe in
self-improvement, depends what your self-improvement is, because if your
it's got to be health. Sound.
And we're back.
And we're back. It's got to be health in it.
Yeah, but what if your self-improvement is to be more sociable, to be more...
but as a general...
Get out there.
To drink more.
No, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily, but you might be that you're a bit of a recluse and you're a bit sort of...
Yeah, but you nitpick. General rule, it's always going to be about money and health and weight and things like that. That's the main one, getting in shape and all that sort of stuff. It's why all the gyms become full in January. Yeah. So as a general rule, if your personal development starts at the 1st of the year, you've already lost and you've already become the same as everybody else. You've bought into the marketing of personal development and you listen to all the same daytime shit that you've been listening to for 30 years about going to change this, going to change that. They get somebody on who knows about this, and you're basically full of shit. If you do it December 1st, when you've got all the excuses against you why you shouldn't do it December 1st, if you do it then you come into the new year having started, not when you're at your most fattest and poorest. So, personal development. If you don't do it then, you failed.
How pissed do you be if someone had already crested there?
Doesn't bother me, because I am it.
You are it.
So it doesn't. You're using my identification. I'm copywriting it. I am it now and in history, because I've looked in history for people and I found bollocks all over the place.
So no wiggle room around Christmas.
What do you mean? No, that's the whole point. You're doing it at the hardest point. It's easy to do things in the easy times.
No, Christmas Day you can stuff your face, right?
Why? You're making me serious. What? It's another death.
You're doing it. It's the one day a year you get together.
No.
You argue.
There's no one day.
You drink too much and you fall asleep in front of a Pixar movie.
Listen, as I've always said, if you set goals, there's no birthday, there's no Christmas Day, there's no AM, there's no PM, there's no... It's irrelevant. It is, you set the goals, and the days that are added in are arbitrary, and they mean nothing. There are excuses. There's doing the thing, and there's the excuses. So,
do, as Master Yoda said, do or do not. There is no try.
I like Master Yoda. Yeah. What else has he said? Say something.
Going now, am I? Yes.
Oh, there you go. So,
I don't remember that specific quote.
Oh, there was.
Going now?
Going now, am I? Yes.
So
take him to him. Yes.
Yeah, I meant something.
Oh, as in right. What? Something philosophical?
Yeah, just me. What words have you ever said? Something philosophical. Death, life, meaning, truth, honesty.
Well, he talks about how there's no difference between, we're all one luminous being, Not this
Luminous beings are we.
Not
Not
this
this
crude
crude matter. Yeah.
Stuff.
That was like
What was the original one he said?
try not, do, or do not. There is
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Perfect.
do or do not. There is no try.
And there's a bit
I do
where
think that's-
are we good, Karim?
The video doesn't have any audio and I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
The
should we
video
stop there then.
If you want, we can just research
What, the video? No, don't worry about the video. Is the audio okay?
the audio. Is okay.
Yes. I don't,
Yeah.
don't worry.
Video schmidio.
Yeah,
So we've got the
boo.
audio.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
killed the radio star. Now we have our revenge.
So, as I was saying, so personal development starts the first step, and anything else you say
Yeah.
is weak.
Okay, what does this isn't me playing my kind of devil's advocate. I come from a complete place of ignorance.
Yeah. Well, not really.
And what is personal development? Like, what does it mean?
It's
I can
improving
understand. I can
yourself.
understand. Like, you literally look and go, personal development. Okay, that's self improvement. It's
Yeah.
another way of saying self improvement.
Yeah, so it basically means, I mean, the health is always going to be the first thing, health and just general happiness.
Yeah.
But it's always going to come back to things like health and just broadening your horizons. Usually with what I would say with personal development is you're going to introduce stuff. It's not going to say it's the easy bit, but it's not always the easy bit. It's tough to make things stick and last, which is why you do this on December the 1st to see if you really mean it or not.
Yeah.
The second thing is you have to give up stuff as well. It's not just getting stuff in; it's giving stuff up, and that's probably the harder bit. Most people fail with personal development that I've known is because what they try to do is they try to drag their life with them and introduce stuff, and it doesn't work because most of the time when you're not doing stuff, it's because you're doing a lot of bad stuff. But it's hard to give stuff up. It's hard to knock a relationship on the head. It's hard to quit the job or do whatever. But you've got to do it. You can't just add stuff in and pile it on and think things are going to stay the same. Because what you're trying to do is trying to change the sort of 360 degrees of what is you. And you can't drag everything with you and do new things. It doesn't work. So you do have to cut things out. You do have to go, right, I'm going to stop doing that and do this instead. So that's hard for people because the change is the problem with people. People don't like change. There was a saying somebody heard, and it was true. He said, what was it now? Going on. And it's funny if he was a personal development guy, but as all decent ones, they're dead. They died a long time ago. And basically, it was saying you only change. Most people only change when the fear of remaining the same is worse than the fear of the change.
Right.
So it's hard to change and all that, but it's only when you go to the point of cracking where you go, I am sick to fucking death of this happening again and again and again. So whatever's going to happen in the future is fucking better than my life like this.
Yeah.
And that's usually when people change because you're forced into it. But you have to remove people from your life. You have to stop doing certain things. You have to change your job and maybe get a job that pays less, and so you let go of the car payment and the 3-bedroom flat and move to a single flat. When I used to actually help people with personal development, I'd say to them, if you are serious, because I don't do this thing of trying to appeal to masses. I'm really not bothered. So it's like trying to convert a Trump supporter. Stop trying to convert them. It's not going to happen. They are what they are. Some of them might move around a little bit, but generally they don't want to know the truth. So with personal development, I'd say this: if you really,
How long was that on the Trump timer?
oh right, yeah, Trump again. There we go. So, so I'd say to you, if you really want to change, let's just pretend you work in an office, but actually you want to be an actress. Let's just pretend.
Right, okay.
You say, right, so tell me about the people around you, because that's mostly important. What's going on around you? There's no point ignoring that. What are your problems? Well, this and that, and I've been dating a guy or whatever, and this and that. I say, right, first of all, from understanding that situation, you need to cut that out. What else have you got? Well, we share rent, and I've got to give him £800. Right, well, you can't be doing that because you've got a burden. You're living in somewhere you don't need. Well, I've got a car payment. Right, get rid of that car and buy one for £1,000. And what you do is move to living in a room and with no TV. Don't put a fucking TV in there. Suddenly, when you got nothing to do, and that person, they go, oh, should we go out this time? Should we go? And you're doing nothing.
Yeah.
When you remove all that and you're sat on your own, I call it the Rocky apartment, when you're just in a poxy little apartment and nothing's happening, suddenly you start going, I've got to get out of here and I've got to do something. So most of the problems are things that are attached to you that you need to let go. And that's the harder bit, because people make excuses. Whatever you say, do this, they're risk averse. So they go, well, what I'll do is, and you go, you failed already. You're not really wanting to do this. So you need to get to a place, as I said to one girl actually, you understand there's people like me out there that they've moved down to London, they got nothing, from a single parent family, and they're working 24 hours a day. That money they spend, they don't go out on weekends with it. They get singing lessons or they get acting lessons that they can't afford, but you're up against them. So you want to be successful. Understand there's 1,000 other people right now. So you going, well, what I'll do is, you're already at the bottom of the pile. So it's about giving up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't have to always be about career, but that's the general thing. But the weight loss, anything like that, who are you around? What job do you go to? Where do they go at lunch? There's no point in me saying, well, just give up food, because it's a psychological thing inside you. And if you live in an area with the sweet shops all around you, and there's 10 chicken shops, but move to a flat in the middle of whatever area. That will help you, because there's not shops all over. I remember when I was dating somebody in America and went to Malibu, and when I was there, I remember thinking, oh, there's no shops around here. Forget sweet shops. Like, it's such a normal thing to have a shop on every corner of the Tesco.
Yeah,
you go, basically, if you haven't got food in, you're going to have to drive for about 8 or 9 miles for anywhere, a petrol station.
But I do think that's kind of, I mean, just with shops, I think that's an English thing. Because I do go to, I have been around quite a few places. Well, Europe as well. Northern Europe, they tend to have more convenience stores, but a lot of countries they just don't have like corner shop. You just go around looking for a pack of crisps or a newspaper, and you can't
by corner shop. You mean sweet shop? I mean, you might as well just put humbugs above them. I mean, even the supermarkets, it's basically
Humbugs.
Sweet. I don't know. I've got references.
What day is it, boy?
All the kids just they come on humbugs.
Yeah,
but that's a real thing. Like, if you're talking about actually changing your life, that's a real thing. Yeah. The main problem in personal development is you have to understand you are full of shit. You're scared, you're petrified, you don't know how to do anything, you probably failed at a load of things. So you have to do that Ulysses impact of removing things. Understand that you have to remove.
Define Ulysses impact.
So just placing something in the future. If you're not strong enough, which most people are, if you're not strong enough to lose weight or the career things, you have to do things that are going to force you to not do those things. Whereas, say, move to a place, get a room in a place where there's no shops around you. If you're a big fat sod and you wanted to change everything about your life, move to a place where you can't, because your psychology is broken. You're going to look for excuses. It might not get you on the first of...
How do you think that sort of works in the age where you can order a big fat dirty takeaway on your phone?
No, but that's different. It's the knowing there's a sweet shop 2 minutes away. Yeah. That's the problem. You should be able to fight off the other stuff. There's a Tesco's 15 minutes. Okay, that's different. But it's there's a chicken shop at the end of my road sort of thing. You've got to get yourself, if you're genuinely trying to change your life, you need to do something. You need to get rid of the stuff before you start doing anything, because you might be all ready to go in January the 1st and I'm going to do this. But it's when it's a month later and you're tired and you're stressed and on the way home there's 4 chicken shops. That's what it'll get you. And if you go, well, yeah, but I'm not, well, you failed already, because you the fact you need to lose weight, if that's the problem, you're already setting yourself up to fail. You know you don't follow through with diets because you never have. So why lie to yourself again? Yeah. So if you are interested and you are sick to death of it, then move to an area where you can't get in a little room, no TV, you've got nothing to do, you can't find excuses. So then you end up focusing on the one thing, if it is career. But as you say, it's varied things. But the main thing is to fate that with personal development right from the start is you're fucked. Like you make excuses, you do this. Otherwise, you would be somewhere already. The fact that you need help says your mentality isn't that to just go and do it. You're probably delusional. You make up things and you tell yourself things all the time. So you have to go, I'm full of shit. So I now need to put things in place to stop me being full of shit till I can at least get the wheels to hit the road a little bit, and then you have self-esteem that starts to build. But until then, you've got to remove stuff. The personal development is giving stuff up. It's the worst thing people want to do. They always want to, I want to change and I want to do these things, but I don't want to keep anything different. I want to keep everything the same. I don't really. I just want to, I'll make time. It's all bollocks. It's all bollocks. So personal development day is 1st of December. And the worst thing to me is ego and bullshit and all that. That's the worst thing. I fucking hate it. So when I say outlandish things about me, basically being in charge of personal development since day dot, and I've looked back, so other people can go, I had 10 years of people saying, oh, look at this guy. Oh, look at that guy. My bar is so high that it offends me when people say, oh, what about this guy? Because all I do is have to look at their story of where they come from.
Okay, so who where did the idea of personal development originate then? Like, who were the people? Because you're saying you look back in history, but
There's a guy like Stephen Covey. You have to go back early days, but it's
Charles has a
Oh,
hand
Charles.
raised.
Hello.
I have done my research.
He has
well,
risen.
I haven't. So go
Okay.
Charles.
Well, Webster's dictionary defines personal development. From what I've seen, it effectively is sort of the idea of self-improvement, self-actualization, and reaching one's potential is the idea. That usually it mainly resolves around self-awareness,
Right.
and often through introspection. Now, there are lots of theories about this. Goldstein believed that everyone naturally, all organisms naturally move towards moving towards fulfilling their potential.
Yeah.
Who's Goldstein? Sorry.
A theorist, I think it's a psychologist, sociologist. But he believed that everyone naturally does this. No, not from meeting people. I
I think
don't
if
think
you're
everyone.
talking about a general rule of being a human, it works, but not every single person.
Well, it's a nice idea
Yeah,
that
yeah.
everyone's moving to this state of
Yeah.
excellence naturally.
And then
what I
you
mean?
think
We're all
about people that
striving
you
to
know,
better
and you go,
ourselves. And I'm just like, that's not who I see on the train.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? People stuffing their faces.
Yeah.
Getting drinking.
And attacking you on the train.
Attacking me and flinging their own poo at me. I mean, it's like, this isn't the world that I live in. But Maslow introduced the hierarchy of needs, and Maslow stated that that basically you need, in order to reach one's full potential, you need to effectively fulfill baser needs, i.e. stuff like safety, health, security, social happiness, you know what I mean? And only once these lower needs are met can you then become sort of self-aware, do the self-introspection, and then potentially start fixing things in order to reach your potential.
Yeah.
And he has a lovely little pyramid as well.
It's always nice.
That's interesting. It's a nice idea. And supposedly he studied many successful people, artists, scientists, you name actors, whatever. And he came up with a list of common traits. Often most of these were creative people, and most of it was effectively people who'd sort of stabilized their lives in order to focus more on their careers, I suppose, or their job, or a more of a vocational job, I suppose. But interestingly enough is that he stated that he believed that only about 1% of the population are actually capable of self-actualization.
Yeah. See, it gets
People can, reaching that higher step. People can achieve those lower steps, but whether they can make that step up to the final bit, I do think that it's still worth doing those things. You know what I mean? It's worth living a healthy life. It's worth trying to find some happiness in your job and having a fulfilling social life. Even in those things in and of themselves, they just are important for human beings.
Yeah, there's a confusion I found with personal development teams that a lot of people with money seem to go, look at me. I always say, if you ever hear anyone use the term six-figure income, that's a con man.
Yeah, it does.
Whether they don't know they are, it's a marketing tool. It's as if the money fixes everything.
Yeah.
Actually, if you do reach that place of, I don't want to use enlightenment, but you fixed yourself, let's just say, the money and those things actually drop off as being important. It's a funny thing. But they sell this, well, if you get to this point, and online business and this and six-figure income, you go, well, that solves nothing. When I get there, that will solve none of my problems other than just paying the bills. The problems will still be there. But when you do actually fix yourself, it's amazing how basic stuff becomes the important stuff, and all the other stuff you realise is just silly accoutrements of life, which is actually bollocks. And it tends to be people that have got money suddenly then jump into the personal development, which shows how delusional they are. Because a lot of really, you could say, okay, so I'm into personal development. I like so and so actress or actor, and you go, because they've done this and they've done that. You go, well, a lot of them are just they they have sociopathic tendencies in terms that they can cut people out very easily and not give a shit. They've just got one drive. But that drive is built on insecurity. So they've fixed nothing. It's just the illusion of success. They're actually still a normal person and they're still driving. I mean, half the film is about people trying to get somewhere in life. It's all built on insecurity. So it's not a talent they've got as such. It's just, I need to fill that gap. So to say, well, they become a Hollywood star and all that, I could admire them and go, no, you're not seeing the backstory. Their life is full of insecurity. That's what's got them there. It's not this overarching personal development thing where I fixed myself. Because when you do get to that point, as I said, you tend to care less about the money and the things like that because now you are whole as a person.
But is that also maybe if you've got money, you don't care about it?
What do you mean?
So if you've got to a point in your life where you've got money, you don't care about, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but then if you look at the illusion of the poster of the person, that's one thing. But then behind the scenes, you got to get past that bullshit of understanding that's not them. Mm-hmm. Who are they behind it? There's no.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I watched a billionaire dude on Fox News last week crying because they might tax him slightly more.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, actually breaking down, he was like, "This is no one knows how hard it is to be a billionaire, and we're just we're a minority group, and it's just so hard.
I mean, that is correct.
Everyone hates us. Everyone hates us.
Yeah,
we're an oppressed group.
Well, the thing is, this is what they tell you, though. If you are a billionaire or you've been a millionaire and a billionaire, that money is not what you think it is anymore. Because to them, normal life is normal life. Having a 10-foot fireplace is normal. There's nothing spectacular about it. Having 6 cars is normal. There's nothing spectacular. There's no fun to be had there. I spoke to somebody who's rich, really rich, and he was saying how people I know would laugh at the amount of money I've got as if it's nothing. And he said they get to a point where everything they have, there's nothing enjoyable about it. It's just, this is what's normal. Whatever you think is normal, they think's normal because they've had it for so long. He said that's why you have to invent things with, like number plates or art, because you have to, you can't, that thing that got you to be rich doesn't get filled up because it's about insecurity. So, well, I've got as much money as you have and you've got as much money as I have. So we've all got the millions and millions and millions, but I still can't stop. So what do I do now? Oh, let's invent art as being expensive and exclusive. Yeah. And that means I'm better than you because you can't have it. So you have to understand that that's there, that they get to that point sometimes by sociopathic tendencies. I have to fill a gap in me and I can't stop. But it doesn't go anywhere. That's not personal development. That's just somebody that got rich. That's all it is. Personal development is about not caring about those things. Yeah. Because you weren't born thinking, I want to be a multi-millionaire. It was forced upon you that you need money to be happy. And then you follow that lie down a dark alley that goes nowhere. And if you do get it and you get the million, it doesn't, people that snap out of it and go, oh, I'm amazingly happy now. It doesn't work. Your problems will come, once that becomes normal after a few years, your problems are still there when eventually it normalizes. And this guy that I spoke to, the rich guy, said, I remember having bought my first Porsche and all that. He said within a couple of months, there was like Coke cans and all that, and it became normal. It wasn't like, oh my God, I got a Porsche. So people had been born into money and wealth, and they're given a house, and their parents had money. They're not going around going, wow, I'm amazingly happy. It's normal to them. So personal development is about chasing whatever you want to do, but you need the whole thing. So with the magazine, the spirituality, health, wealth, and culture, that's because everything ties into everything.
But it does include wealth, like that's the thing.
Oh, it's part of it. There's no point saying I'm going to be like when I think about people that some bloke, I don't know, he wants to pretend he's some guru, and he's look at me. I've living in a tree for 6 years in the yoga pose. You go, you haven't lived your life. That you're a failed person. You're not. But that's what it is. There's no point going, well, look how spiritual I am. Isn't it amazing? You've failed your life.
Well, how do you mean?
What?
Because what was the point of that? To sit there and do, you haven't experienced anything. The idea is to...
If he wants to live spiritually, that doesn't necessarily mean...
Sorry?
I mean,
we could say, oh, well, he's a very spiritual person. Look, I'm in touch with myself and blah, blah, blah.
If that's all he's seeking, or he or she, if that's all they're seeking...
But okay, so...
It's about... Maybe that, yeah, that's their potential. I mean, what you were saying about people making money, I mean, in the ideal world... everyone has a talent, and hopefully they can maximize that talent and then get paid for it, so that everyone will be doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
In an ideal world.
Yeah.
And maybe in an ideal world, some people are supposed to be sat there doing the yoga poses for 7 years and meditating, because that's what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay, so fucking hell. So right, listen, there's this thing about spirituality, and that's the thing I'm going to talk about least, because I want to do all the other stuff first, so people listen to what I'm going to say to them about it. The idea is you are here to experience everything And that's if you go down one alley and that's your one alley. It might be good that you did this thing and all that, but you didn't experience the whole point of it.
So almost in the meaning of life, as it were, is to experience as much as possible.
And if you're there and you're a physical wreck and you can't lift anything and you're getting like I'm thinking right, every time I'm talking about somebody living in a job, I'm thinking about somebody I saw a documentary about it once, and they weren't taking the piss, but I just felt sorry for him the whole time. You've just caught onto this one little thing that you're not spiritual. I mean, it's this thing we keep coming back. I come back to about. There are spiritual people and the philosophical people. The two aren't the same thing. It's like saying a mechanic and an electrician. But what's happened is the spiritual people don't talk, so you don't hear from them. So other people have moved into their space to monetize it, called philosophers. They're not spiritual people. They don't understand anything. What spiritual is a real place. It's a real thing. And my second article for the magazine was going to be about the silent ones, people I've met that don't tell you they're spiritual, don't mention it, don't refer to it, don't say anything. They know they're adults in a world of children, so they don't bother to. There's no need, as I've said before, like you don't go into a playground and start telling kids that they're stupid because they don't know anything. It's that big a leap, so they don't say anything because there's no point. So they just live their life, and it doesn't mean they know everything. It's just they're sort of locked into it. It's like I imagine them as being gay in the 1910 or 20. You don't say anything, even though they're all there. They can't say anything. That's how big a thing it is. Hopefully, one day we get to that point where they can say anything. The reason I even refer to it or think I'm going to talk about it in the future is because I don't care too much about what I'm judged by. That's why I even refer to it all. But I still don't talk about it now because I've got to do things first before people believe me. But that's why I had to do something big, so that if you say outlandish things, you have to prove it. So I had to do something big first. And the first thing would be to get rid of the fact that philosophy is to do with spirituality. You either are spiritual or you're not. You can't have both. So the philosophers have just moved into the area of spirituality and talk about it, and it's not true.
Well, I think you mean philosophy you mean by the self-help.
Well, yeah, talk about a guru. You could some guru, and he's talking about the universe and the energy, and they're not spiritual. That's philosophy. You don't know anything. You're just coming up with ideas, and you can read it from somebody. It gets the problem is with personal development. This is why I say we've got to start again. We're not even just got to flip the board over, because what it has meant is so poisoned that it's the opposite. It should be in every classroom across, and they should be people that are respected. These personal development people, but what happened is a load of arseholes moved in and monetized it and started jumping on stage and talking about six-figure incomes and wanting to be a millionaire and high-five the person next to you and all that and buy my CD. They poisoned the whole thing, which is why I've just removed myself from anything to do with that. They've poisoned it. So they are the poison masquerading as the cure, literally. And I've said 1,000 times, I say it again, I saw a woman on the BBC talking about all the debt she was in from all the personal development courses she'd gone on, and that was perfect for me. That made sense because it helps you, it makes you feel good. You're there, people are this and that, and they talk about you. Yeah, you want to be something, you don't know how, and you can, and you're worth it, and all that. You've done nothing there. There's a problem with a person's psychology and their life and where they've come from, and maybe their biology as well. So this thing of buy my CD and now I can fly back to California, like, it's literally it's poisoning. It makes you feel good. It looks for people that are low and says, "Yeah, come over here."
Well, it's a big industry, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
it really is.
Billions upon billions. Now,
and my mum reads some of these books, and I just think, like who moved my cheese or whatever.
I don't know.
Who moved my cheese?
They always come up some catchy.
There's always a current one. There's always like the new cool current thing to read.
What was the one that was along? Was it The Secret?
Oh yeah.
That was probably one of the most destructive
That was one about reading. Isn't that about how you put it out into the?
You put it in a paper and you bury it, and it comes back.
Yeah.
I mean, it's reached that point.
I'd just be too self-aware. I'd just write something really silly.
But what they do is they
look behind you, because in case someone found it, I'd be like, "Oh no, I'm going to be nervous. They're going to know mine."
It'd be like when Paul Ince was Wolves manager for 6 games, and they lost like every game.
Oh,
it's a good story. And they zoomed in. He was writing notes. Well, he wrote one word on a note during one half. They just losing like 3-0. It's getting absolutely battered. And the camera zoomed in, and he just said, "Shoot," and then like underlined.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
Well, I guess it means like shoot, as in they need to shoot to score.
Like, yeah.
And what, that was supposed to be some...
That was his notes. That was his halftime notes. Is shoot a goal more.
Not a detail, but
Just like nice one.
Yeah.
I feel as silly as that. to be
in-depth analysis of the game. So yeah, I mean that. What it does is actually this is what it does. Personal development does this. They look for people that are weak and they sell them something new. That is basically what it's become.
I suppose, yeah, it's preying on...
Doesn't matter what words you use or what do you...
Because it's not that I would say it is, but it's who wants to be a millionaire? As the question.
Yeah.
It's like, well, everyone wants to be a millionaire.
Yeah, who wants to be happy? Put your hand. What you do? And it's a con. It's basically.
I'd really like a nihilistic person to go, like some Eeyore type person. Who wants to be a millionaire? Not me. You'd have to pay so much more taxes.
Or somebody stay out and go, well, I am a millionaire. I'm still here.
Who wants to be
the
happy?
notorious B.I.G. said, "Mo money, mo problems."
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like I said, the money, it will just become normal eventually.
Notorious B.I.G.
So they basically...
You've never sounded whiter, I'll be honest.
So basically, the whole industry has just become cancerous. It's all poisoned. It's just con men. Even any YouTube video keeps popping up with some bloke in front of a car or a swimming pool talking, do you want to be happy? And, well, who are you? And that was my problem, because I always look behind the curtains of everything. Like, that was my thing in life from a kid. Like, it's just my proclivity. And people say, oh, no, I know you don't like him, but honestly, this guy, and I look into it and go, oh, for fuck's sake, are you having a laugh? Oh, no, this is the other person. No, honestly, he talks like you. Go, and look into it and go, well, what is it? Oh, well, his mum was an English teacher and his dad was... And you go, well, for fuck, he's given... Like, you have the beginning bit is the hardest bit. There's no point saying, well, I'm a millionaire. Well, how did you get there? Well, my dad was a professor at and you go, well,
my dad wrote me a check for £1 million to start my business.
So it's like, no, my bar is so high. I want to know what you got to, how you got there, and what you started with, because that's the hard bit, is at the bottom, mate. So there's no point in telling me the end bit. I need to go right back to the beginning bit.
Because is this sort of how you got into personal development? Because I don't want to speak for you, but obviously you had
I didn't get into it.
Yeah,
that sort of thing. I did look at it when I realised I wanted to change my life and I had mental problems with dyslexia and all that. And I looked, I just realised, because at that point my life was too raw. It was harsh realities of life. There was no. So when I was reading the Anthony Robbins stuff, I thought, this is just a load of bloke.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, what was the? Because you had a shitty upbringing and you ran away from home, yeah? And then you had to fend for yourself, and that got you involved you were in the gutters, let's be, brutal.
And not for a couple of years,
Yeah, exactly, that's
10
what I'm saying.
years
So you were in there,
shit.
And then what was the thing that made you go...
Well, I'll tell you what it was. So my personal development gurus were people that had lived a life in a certain way. Yeah. That was when I realised, I can't be told these bollocky things about using power words and using this and giving up a little bit of this and then because my life's too hard, so that doesn't fix anything. My life is shit. It doesn't work to change my linguistics. But I would then read something by like Malcolm X about his life, or Oprah Winfrey in her life, or Oscar Wilde in his life, and the fact people had gone from nothing to something or sacrificed things. Yeah. That made me believe, you can change everything. And I had to know that was possible. That's all I needed. I needed the example, which is why I said when I was putting the magazine together and I did it in a certain way, it's because I realised if there was people like me out there, there's no point me telling you stuff that if you're fucked up, you're not going to follow because your life is fucked. But you need to know you can go from there to there. That's enough. Then you have to find your own way, more or less. So my thing was to lay out something by putting the magazine together and everything else with no money and all that. So you could go, well, how the fucking hell did he do that? He's nothing special. So if he can do it, then I can do it. And that's the first thing. That's the most important thing, to believe that you can. So, and that works with anything. You've got to think about your brain. It's not nice, but they say whatever you are or whatever you have or whatever you don't have, it's because you've chosen those, more or less, outside of random stuff happening. You've chosen that. If you're grossly overweight, you chose to be like that. You did it 50 times a day. You made little decisions that eventually led you to be like that. And you can take somebody like an Olympian athlete and you stick them in the body of a fat bloke. They'll lose the weight like it's nothing because they have the mental fortitude and understanding that if I do this, that happens. But if you come from a bad background and you haven't seen successful people and you don't know people that get out of it and make money, they're just people on TV, the willpower isn't there because you don't actually believe it's going to happen. So it's knowing something can happen, which makes you then do the thing. It's not there's something broken inside you. It's the lack of belief that actually it doesn't happen. So you could take anybody with the worst willpower, know that they can't do, they don't believe in anything. If you grabbed them and took them forward in time and go, look, there's your life in the future. So that's you, that you become that successful, whatever.
So everyone needs almost the ghost of...
yeah, but it's like that. If you then
Christmas future.
Yeah.
If you then went back to that person with the no willpower, they then go do stuff because they have a belief, it goes somewhere. But most people have a futility inside them that there's nothing here. There's no point saying you're a personal development guru if your parents, one was a professor and one was a lawyer, because you do things and things become better. When you got nothing, when you got no futility of life is just shit and I don't know anything, don't know anybody successful, that's what stops you. So my gurus were somebody going, look at my life. I had nothing here in the 1930s, and I went on to do this. And then it was that opened the door to me to go, there are people out there and it was their life that made me think things can get better. It wasn't somebody saying follow my rules. I mean, that's just bollocks.
But people have to choose to do this. You can't force someone.
Well, this is what I said. I'm not trying to appeal to the masses. It's like if you don't want to do it or you make excuses, then
that's where that sort of self-actualization comes from, and you have to be aware enough of yourself to like. If you're in a bad situation, to realize you're in a bad situation and question the decisions that put you there, and to question like who you are and what drives you and what motivates you.
Yeah, but this is the other thing.
And not everyone.
No, it's not for everyone.
Quite clearly, not everyone does.
Some people don't want to.
Yeah.
So
some people just seem incapable of that kind of thing.
Yeah, but I think that again, that the bigger thing was that why do you not want to improve? Because what's the fucking point? Well, I'm not bothered. But if you knew there was a goal at the end of it that would happen, they then do. Nobody doesn't want to be happy or doesn't want to have more money or be more successful or be whatever. They choose not to be because it doesn't go anywhere. So you saying stuff to me is bullshit because I'm not interested, because it's all just shit in the air. Sort of like if you had spoke to me when I was 19, 20, 21, say, personal development and this thing, and then I'm just going, what are you talking about? It's just all that shit.
Yeah,
there's no goal.
I'm still, I guess, mainly trying to drive at. It's like, what was there?
It was autobiographies. It was knowing that people.
But what got you to the autobiography? Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm just curious where you went from being Leo.
Oh, well,
was there a Damascene moment? Was there a sort of?
There was a lot of stuff build up.
Yeah, I can appreciate it doesn't happen like in the movies.
Very, very rarely.
Yeah.
The only time when I realised I couldn't read, and there was a reason I couldn't read, which then led me on to thinking about school and all the bad things. I didn't know how to do anything, and I didn't know I couldn't do anything. So I just started listening to stuff, and then realising I liked listening to information. That was before anything. So this wasn't about personal development. This was me just finding out I had a broken brain.
Yeah.
And then realising, why was I violent? And all that. Well, you come from a violent home and this, and your adrenaline kicked in, and you're in flight or fight your whole childhood. Your adrenaline's going, so that's fucked up your biology. So that's why you attack. Rather than thinking, well, I'm stupid and I attack people, and it's realising, there's something broken about me, and I wasn't given that information that something was broken. Let me look into it, which then led into listening to stuff, because I realised I couldn't read. And then I'm looking into stuff, and then I start to learn stuff. Then I realised I liked listening. Then I listened to more stuff, and the more stuff I listened to with philosophy or science or whatever, then made me analyse my own.
So it began with just wanting to learn.
Well, it was realising there was something wrong with my brain.
Yeah.
And then going, let me learn about why my brain's broken. That's it. There was no personal development at that point. That came when I started bolting on things about science and this, and learning about the world and learning about historical people, all from audio. And that's when I gave up my day job, because I was doing security at night and working in the pawnbrokers during the day. So I gave up the pawnbroking work, and I just got a job as a truck driver, so I could just drive around and listen to audio. And I did that there was no minute of the day for 4 years that I wasn't listening to audio. I got falling asleep, waking up. That audio went with me wherever I went, and it was constantly playing, and I just vacuumed up information about the world all through audio. So then when I started listening and learning things and sorting myself out, and then doing that again and again and again and fixing myself, I used to then tell other people, thinking they knew all this and I was catching up with them.
Yeah.
And then realising, no, people don't know fuck all about themselves. And that's when it started to look into what is personal development, which then led me into looking at the industry, going, oh, there's that book and that's famous, and let me read that, and everyone talks about that, and realise it was a load of bollocks.
So I suppose because you had, without knowing what it was, you had personally developed yourself, as it were.
Yeah, accidentally, just trying to figure out, oh, that's why I'm fucked up, and that's why I do these things. And that's why, but then going, oh, when I did go on that bender for 4 years of just learning, then starting to talk to people about it, thinking I was catching up with everybody else.
I just like the fact you went on a knowledge bender.
4 years, didn't talk to people.
No, that's what I mean. It's quite the nice. Normally you hear people go, "Oh, I just lost myself to booze and drugs," and while he's sleeping.
No,
around.
I realised I liked learning stuff, but I didn't. That switch had gone off at me in school because I realised I couldn't do anything, but I didn't know how to hear it because everything obviously in text. So it was ridiculous. Nothing was going in. So so that's when I started to get learning, and then I realised everybody else wasn't doing the same thing. I thought everybody was on this quest, and I was just behind them. And then realised people didn't give a shit, and people just bothered about paying their bills and that. Yeah. So then I started helping other people, that then led into personal development. And then I actually went, personal development industry, and realised that was a load of bollocks. All of them. I went across all of them.
How to Become a Millionaire.
Yeah.
And you do that by publishing a book called How to Become a Millionaire.
Well, that was the Anthony Robbins problem I had, because he was like the big guy out there. 90s, Anthony Robbins, like the...
See, all I know of him is sort of from spoof and satire. I literally don't know what he...
So he's supposed to be the go-to guy, person that's been doing it for 30 years or whatever.
What is his main crux? What's his thing?
Well, it changes over time because he's been doing it for 30 years, but it's all about feeling better about yourself and all that. Okay. But when you listen to it, and I did at the time, what was the first one? Awaken the Giant Within. That was the book somebody gave me. And
Awaken the Giant Within. Wow.
But it's just, and this was the 90s. Well, I suppose it was written in the 80s, so it was that bullshitty sort of time. But it was doing nothing, mate. I just thought, this is fucking bollocks. Like, I'm a bloke in a shit location. I got no decent job.
But does it work for anyone?
That's what I was going to say.
This is my point. It's I realised that all the personal development, it's supposed to appeal to people that have got a little bit of money, but you're just not quite happy.
Typically, people lacking in confidence as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that they feed on that. They're not having, and look at me, I've got the answer.
But I mean, if some of these things, like I don't agree with, what was it? Like Jordan Peterson. I don't even want to get into. I don't want to get into it. He's the Canadian philosopher.
He's doing the rounds, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very popular.
He's quite nihilistic, isn't he?
Well, he ostensibly does a lot of. He's had these 12 Rules for Life, which was a bestseller on Amazon, sold lots of copies. But ostensibly, he's sort of given this self-help kind of thing. But then there's a lot of very conservative politics behind it.
Yeah. What's an example of a 12? Of one of those 12 steps. Cool.
That's not a challenge. Pet every cat you see. Tidy your room's the big one.
I've often heard this thing about like the
tidy your room.
But no, the most important thing to do is as soon as you get up is make your bed.
Yeah, there are little things, but it's not literal. I think it means something else.
Yeah, it's a metaphor. Just keep your house in order,
Yeah.
Okay.
Like,
but what's the pet and the cat?
I
don't
know. I'm not going to be. But
fine.
I think the guy's an absolute hack and a fraud. But it seems to help some people. If it's giving people some structure and rules, like who lack that, especially younger people today, who are just playing video games all the time and just being online constantly, if it's actually giving them some external kind of structure.
I suppose the other, if it works for them, even if these charlatans,
they say stuff. Some people it's going to work for. You never hear any miraculous stories about anybody's changed their life. By the way, you've never heard of one because I went to something. But the problem, if you went and shouted in the street one thing, it could be a racist thing. Some people are going to agree with you. Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of. But if your thing is changing your life, like the Jordan Peterson thing, certain things were quite nice, and I listened to it. But this is my bar is so high. I would just look at him and go, I wouldn't want to be like you. You don't seem very happy. You're talking all this stuff. And then you go, well, what do you mean about personal development? You've been a professor for 30 years in a stable job. What have you struggled with? Do you know what I mean? It's like what I realise is you can... Like when honest to God, it went through my head when I was thinking about, when I first started thinking about anything, I thought, well, I've got to get money. That was my thing, money. I've got to get the money. Mm. And I knew
first you get the money, then you get the power.
And I was thinking, people are fucking stupid. Like I could probably sell some bullshit to them and tell them what they want to hear and be what they want me to be and make money that way. Like it's quite easy. So that's why I decided to do all the work first, because I thought, no, I can't be like that. You've got to leave a story behind it. That's how I want to teach. But I thought it's easy to just tell them what they want to hear. Like, and that's where some people do that. But
that's our current internet.
So when I judge,
is people making an awful lot of money off telling people what they want to hear.
Yeah. But that's what when I look at like Jordan Peterson, and he's not trying to be a self-improvement guru, I don't think. So I'm being a bit hard.
That's an offshoot, but it's certainly
he's moving in that way. I think the money's starting to pull him that way. Yeah. But I just look at somebody and go, he never smiles. Like if I was to think about self-improvement, I'm not being funny. If I was to think of somebody like Ricky Gervais or somebody. And it's not, there's other things, but somebody that just enjoys their life. He's come from a low background, I mean, he had family and all that. But I look at Jordan Peterson and I go, he gets very angry very easily, so he's not in control of himself, really. So that's a big thing. That tells me there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Because little things you do echo something behind.
How does he get what when he's doing his talk?
If you were talking and we disagree about something, he sort of zeroes in and goes very sort of, not defensive.
He's sort of one of these sort of right-wing ideologues, effectively.
So who would you equate? I'm sorry, it's just
it's hard.
Only again because I'm complete. I know.
I'm surprised you haven't heard of it.
I know nothing about but I think it's one of these weird things that if you
he annoys sort of feminists. He's got a thing where, and he's not trying to do it. I do believe.
He's bait. He baits
Okay.
liberals and feminists.
But the idea is him now moving into the personal development industry. He's doing that thing. You're not from there. Like you've got nothing to teach there, but your words can sort of be used to sort of.
Is he basically like a fancy pants Tyler Durden, where he's like self improvement is masturbate, and then like that, and then he starts Fight Club.
No, I know the film. I haven't seen it.
Oh. Okay,
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, and Edward Norton.
Eddie Norton.
I think you'd find it quite interesting. I don't want
you really
to offend me when I watch it.
It's a good film, and it's not what you think.
How is your? This isn't to catch you out. How is your reading now, or do you like? Do you need a book?
I couldn't read a book. No way.
I'll get the audio book. Get the audio.
What can I watch the film?
I think the film's better. I have read the book. I've read the book.
Yeah, I agree. Actually,
the film being better.
It gets lost a bit, doesn't it? In the book of anyway. We're not doing a Fight Club review. Sorry. Watch the film. Watch the film Fight. I think
I'm going to do it,
and
I'm going to come back with my report.
Yeah, I think we're going to have to. We'll have to do a follow-up.
film discussion. Yeah, it's good.
But basically, so one of my things I do with personal development is I look at the person and go, do you look happy? And he does not. So that's just cancelled out because I know there's stuff going on behind the scenes. You should be able to take criticism and have a laugh and look like you smile and joke around. If you can't do that, then that's forget personal development now and money you got what you're teaching. Plus, you've been a professor for fucking 4 or 5
So he's an older man. He's not
old.
He's
He's
50s.
Yeah.
Oh.
But he's been a professor at like Harvard or something, whatever it is.
He made, I think it was up in Toronto or something actually. But he was he got famous protesting a bill about transgender discrimination in Canada.
Sorry, he did.
Oh yeah, he didn't want to use the terminology
that
they were saying. He had to start calling people by
their preferred pronouns, and he took offence to that and said that it was fascism and your policing language.
I just find
he said, "If you
send me to prison, I'll go to prison."
He goes,
is that how he
talks? Force me to prison, I'll go on hunger strike. I won't do it. I just won't do it.
I was going to say,
no, that's what he talks like now, isn't it?
But he's just anyway. I don't want to go on about him too much.
I don't want to use impersonal pronouns. Yeah,
genuinely, it was worth having a look. He's crying. He cries a lot as well.
But again,
he's on the verge of tears at all times.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It seems like
with a real self-righteous anger.
Yeah,
I'm going to have to look this guy. No, I don't want to look this guy up. Actually.
He's not as bad as you think, but it's just, when you look at the overall. I don't know, to be honest.
I'm just going to find it too difficult to not be thinking of Kermit the Frog now. Now that you've before I've even.
It's not. It doesn't.
Someone said he was the physical embodiment of male hysteria.
Fair enough. I mean, the thing about I understand it's very complex. We've done it many times on this podcast about we're taking a momentary aside here. Please indulge me about the use of pronouns and whatnot. But it's also just like, look, if you're trying and you fuck it up, please don't shout at me. Like, I'm not trying to offend people if I use the wrong pronoun, etc. But when the people go, no, I don't want it, it's like, does it really matter? Like, how does it affect you if this person wants to be called he? Well, then you say he. If they want to be called they, then call them they. That's fine. It doesn't really. And if you slip up, you just have to hope that they will be indulgent and go, okay, they made a genuine mistake there.
There's certain things. The only reason I don't like that is because, again, people never stand back and look at the world. Really, they don't.
Yeah.
They like to think they do, but they don't. And when I see people going too far liberal, what you're basically doing, that ultra-liberal person about calling me my specific thing and they're going to call their specific thing, and you have to go, well, if I do it there, they're all going to do it, which they are. but I understand certain things. We can cover basic stuff, but you have to understand that you then need to police your own industry about calling yourself whatever, because if you don't, what you are doing, you're putting a fascist government in place in the future, because most people aren't against you, they just don't know what you're talking about. If you make them enemies, they will, people that want to understand and will be assimilated into different types of cultures and all that. If you start forcing them and calling them criminals because of this and finding them, you make enemies of the mass of people, which are mostly nice people, who then, if you keep on, they then go, do you know what? Well, I'll go for a Trump then, because he's safer than you.
Yeah, but most people who fight against these types of things are people who've never had to deal with this in their real life and never had to experience this. Someone was going on about, we're going on a real tangent here. Someone's going on about third gender bathrooms, gender neutral bathrooms. And they were going, oh, this is disgusting. This is, it's just insane. What, we're supposed to have 3 bathrooms everywhere? And I was like, well, have you got a problem with disabled toilets?
Yeah. No, well, that's fine.
That's different. And I said that the one time I think I have seen a gender neutral bathroom was in the BFI on the South Bank.
Yeah, in London.
Loads of places just a unisex, aren't they?
Well, but this was actually a gender neutral one. They had a men's, a women's, and a gender neutral. Okay. It was a third bathroom. And I was like, and do you know what happened?
Yeah.
Nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
I went to the blokes, went for a piss, and I was like, came out and went, oh, it's a gender neutral bathroom, okay. And I just went on with the rest of my day, and that was it. Absolutely no effect on my life whatsoever. And I'm like, why are you getting angry about this? It's just, it's nothing.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, why do we have to have a gay pride? I was like, well,
what about the straight pride?
Yeah, it's like, look at your calendar. Any day that isn't gay pride day, that's straight pride day. It's like international. Why do we have an international men's day? Again, look at any.
So you should have things for suit, but the problem is you have to curtail that at a point.
Yeah, I think
otherwise you make the enemy of the masses.
Yeah. It's a little a kind of just maybe perhaps as a final point, and then we'll go back to personal event. I remember seeing a post. It was a banner saying, "If you're eating," it was climate protest. Sorry. And it said, if you're eating meat, you can't shut up about climate change. It was like, well, that's going to fucking win people over to the vegan cause, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Most people will come around to anything, whether it be gay or whatever. They will come around to it. It's just they don't know. They're just scared. That's all it is. They're not your enemy. But don't make them your enemy or make them criminals. Then you make an enemy.
Well, it's interesting. Stuff like same-sex marriage was potentially an issue 20, 30 years ago. It's not really an issue now. They legalized it and... opinion polls say the majority of people in this country don't really, in a nice way, don't care. It doesn't affect them, and they're like, yeah, it's fine, whatever.
But I don't think then that the people coming up, the gay people at the time, weren't really trying to criminalise, but they just did want fairness. Do you know what I mean? It was about equality. Yeah. Now, because we've become a very sort of childish-led society, with the internet and things like that, where they have got a voice, they're now starting to make the enemy of anyone that says anything. But what you do is you alienate everyone. Yeah, I did. And if it carries on for too long, they then put a fascist government in.
I've got a good story. I was working at a Christmas party a couple of days ago, and they had their thing where they were giving out some prizes, and they had a prize for the lady who'd made the most efforts or whatever, the loveliest dress or whatever. Yeah. And so there was a lady, and she was. I thought she was absolutely gorgeous. She was a fuller figure, let's say, real woman, all woman. You know what I mean? I saw her wearing this red dress, and I was like, damn. When I walked in, I was like, God damn it. Yeah. And I was like, And then she won it. She was very bashful. She wasn't thinking about it, and then they had this one table complained
about what?
About the award.
That was a nice harmony. That was about that.
And they said, good time, yeah.
In Dolby, it's around.
They complained because they said, actually, that's incredibly sexist what you did. Where's the best dressed man category? You've just broken gender equality laws, and I'm now duty bound to report you.
See, that's the person that puts fascism in front.
And I'm like, fuck off. Yeah. It's just like, okay, so I go,
don't piss everybody off.
To go tell the manager, and the manager was just going down. He's just like, what the fuck?
Just give him a free drink.
And this was this was a table.
That's all he wants.
This was a table full of women. This was it's a table 10 people, 11 people.
So that person should be arrested.
9 women and 1 dude. And I remember that. And the lady who was the boss, lady obviously in charge, obviously, booked the table or whatever.
Yeah.
And she was the one complaining, saying, why isn't there a category for man? This is gender.
I mean, it does kind of feel like, on the flip side, I would say, why isn't there? But it's not something I would complain. But
that's what I mean. That person is the problem in society. They're the one that fuck everything up for everyone.
Just because they can complain, they feel like they...
You then make everyone dislike you, ergo the rest of your industry that you're claiming to profess against. So those people are what put a Trump in place. They're because they piss everybody off so much that they go, well, let's put them in charge and they'll get rid of all that bollocks.
I'd love to see you say that on Twitter and just soak up the rage.
What rage? It wouldn't bother me.
Children, that's what would be amazing.
Children telling me it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Fairness, it doesn't. People are scared of certain things and they don't know you think, but you just teach them and you put classes or you put laws in place and people will follow them. But shouting things like that,
I think that
you piss people off.
I think it's just different reasons to bully people. Like it's just a different. I don't think a lot of people really. Maybe they care, maybe they don't, but it's just a good reason. It's just another excuse to have a go at people and enforce rules on people. And some people like enforcing rules and social norms.
But as I said, I look at those people and go, "You're what fucks society up because you put Trumps in place. You fucking alienate that." When I see people like that, you're the people that put fascism in place.
It's the if you vote leave, mention the dreaded B word. The argument just became
birthday.
A birthday. It became, if you vote leave, then you're a racist. Well, that's going to win them over to your side.
So you alienate
I just
people.
go, you know what, fuck you. I voted Remain, but I was like, I would never have thought that. And I was just like, all right, fuck you then.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton saying, all these Trump supporters are deplorables.
Basket deplorables. That's when she
lost it then.
Yeah. That's when she definitely lost it. She was losing it, and then that was.
As soon as she said that,
don't come out. Don't come out. And call everyone who isn't going to vote for you is a scumbag and a racist, and they can fuck off.
That was ridiculous. Anyway,
sorry,
we strayed
personal development.
I don't know what was
I think.
Oh, Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, we were talking about. Can people get positives from very surface level help or?
If you are genuinely happy, the money. When they say like over £75,000 a year, you don't get any happier. Like after that, that's a thing. Yeah, it's over $75,000. They said. Okay. Basically, after that,
what's that in real money?
Because what that basically does is it covers your bills.
Yeah,
that's what it covers your bills and allows you to have free time. Anything over there, they said the happiness level goes down. It doesn't go any higher because you've got 10 million. It doesn't do anything to you because that becomes normal. What you're trying to do is get to a point where you can pay your bills and have a little left over. That's all you need. And I think that works.
I was going to say, I think the issue, I suppose, is that are these people are dealing with the actual causes, the root causes.
No, they're definitely not.
Well, this is the thing.
It's a lot. It's a con.
It's a panacea.
Yeah,
and it's a temporary fix for something maybe for a more fundamental and structural change within people's lives, which is, I suppose, why people dislike it, because you're not really helping them. You're just, you're just as a cup papering over the cracks. As it
every
were.
Generation, there's a new generation of insecure people, and all they do is they sell that snake oil to them, and then to them, and then there's always that. It's like we're like fitness equipment. Well, this fitness, look at this thing that's come out. It's not you. It's because you weren't using the ab. And then you're 50 and you got 10 of these things up in your loft.
Diets.
Yeah, same thing.
Every 6 months, every year, there's a new diet. This is the one that's going to make you thin. Because here's the trick.
What they don't tell you is, like with my personal development, is you're the problem. You have to understand you're the problem, and then you go, why am I the problem?
Yep.
But if you're constantly thinking, it's a new thing I needed. It's that thing over there. Oh, that's why I didn't lose the weight. And it's how many.
If I just do this, then
how many decades do you waste until you go, what a load of bollocks that was? What about the ab fucking thing that I bought in the 80s? I was supposed to do something. I mean, the adverts are full of shit. So it's a lie. The whole thing's built on feeding on insecure people and then refreshing them with something new. Don't worry about that. Wasn't the answer. This is the answer. This is the answer. Rather than go, it's hard to market. You're the problem. And by the way, all the answers to fixing yourself are actually in you.
Yeah.
But you're not on a quest for self-enlightenment. What you've been taught is, since the age of about 15, is look at that thing over there. There's your happiness. Go for that thing over there. That's your happiness. Go for the thing over there. That's your happiness.
But that's the hard thing, isn't it? Actually, you need to sit down and introspectively think about your life and like everything. That's very hard to do.
Well, one of the
whereas you can buy a new diet book, or you can get an ab crunch or whatever, and like they go, that's 20 quid.
And this is why I say about not reading newspapers or not watching TV, because it lets it go. They're too good at manipulating you, and it's constant, so it just rams its way into you. So if you just let it go, stop with watching the TV, stop having these adverts coming in all the time, let it go.
Unless it's a really exciting new comedy pilot.
Yeah, or a podcast. A podcast's always a good way. But yeah, so the problem is, the whole industry up to this year has been bollocks, and I know because I spent more time looking than anybody. Not because I was a fan of the industry, because I was fucking desperate to get out of the hole I was in, and I went through them all, mate.
Who was the closest, as it were?
There was a guy. Oh, who wrote? I can't remember his bloody name now.
Closer to the mic.
Oh yeah. No, I can't remember. To be honest, they're all. I don't remember any name. There's none. They all sort of followed the same formula.
Is it all
there was people like Stephen Covey who. Oh God, who was the? Oh, what's that quote about success? Getting to the stage. There's a stage. You know it. How do you get to Carnegie?
Oh,
so he wrote a book. I can't.
Timing.
Yeah. So that was a good joke. That was I think the Carnegie, he wrote a book, and it was just an old guy talking to the mic like this, and this is what you. But it was all sort of like that 1950s dad, where it's just like, stop the bollocks. You're fucking lazy. Do this, do that. It was like before they were trying to market it. It was just, these are the rules that you need to change before it becomes such a big industry.
Yeah.
You could become a millionaire. It was people just saying stuff that I'd learned. And there's a couple of books, but I can't remember the name. But this guy wrote Peaceful Warrior, and I can't remember but he was a gymnast. And it was very sort of utilitarian. That was the only one. I even went to watch the film because I liked it. The film was a bit odd, but it was just quite straightforward. This is what you need to do, and he doesn't become one of the biggest. Hardly not people know him even in the industry.
Right.
So that's a sort of problem, but that's a problem with communication, which is when I was putting the magazine together and everything I was doing. I was very aware of. You can have good information that just doesn't go anywhere because it's not palatable. It's not sold in the right way.
Yeah.
So the idea was you've got to change what personal development is. It should be something nice. It's why I got somebody in fashion to edit the magazine to make it look like a half decent magazine. That it was nice to look at holding. It was nice to feel when you held it. It wasn't just some poxy thing with a smiling model on the front holding some apples. And it's definitely not that. No airbrushing, mate. Look at that.
Yeah, I mean, how old is this picture?
Oh God, fuck no, probably 4 years now.
Oh, okay, fine.
There's a lot of stress in between there.
Airbrushing.
Yeah. So basically, as far as I look back, and I found
more stress, less cake, I'd say.
Yeah. There was,
although you did eat the entire advent calendar in one go today.
Oh yeah, thank you very much.
I brought advent calendars in for everyone.
Personal Development Day went through.
Yeah. Well, it was like 1st of December.
But the magazine,
all the chocolate out of the way. Yeah.
The magazine, which was put together with no money, with no experience, not knowing anybody from scratch, not knowing how designing this and that and all the other stuff, because I had to do something big enough that when I do talk about personal development and then spirituality, there's something go, well, he did that, so that science tells me I have to at least listen because that happened because of what he said. But that's my personal development. It's leading the way. Do something. Don't just talk about it. And this was my problem with Anthony Robbins from the start.
Right.
When you read, you go, well, he's basically had no job other than personal development, and a few years before that, sales. I mean, so you've been doing personal development for 40 years. What do you really know? You've been living in Beverly Hills, flying in and out in helicopters. You don't actually know what it's like. And my problem with basically everything, like I've learned from a lot of different types of people, like from neuroscientists and sports and health and that, and it all gets tied in. So when people become a specialist in one field, I know that they're locked into that and they actually don't know that everything else ties in. So if you're my biggest problem, one of the first things I went through was science, because I was insecure about myself and knowing about spirituality and all that. And science said to me, the first things was, oh, you're full of shit, you lie, it's got to study, you can't see it, you can't know. And I thought, oh fuck, so I'm like delusional. So I went into science, and then that led for about 6 or 8 years of like hate, and I wanted to die because this doesn't make any sense to what I know. But it all made sense, you know, you can't see it, doesn't matter. So I went down that road. So my brain became very analytical about everything, but it just rubbed up against everything I knew, and to the point of snapping. But then when I sort of gave up on it and I realised, science is, they're children, they know nothing. Like, you have to accept that they know that they can only see at the end of their nose, which you need for fixing bones and making chemical and petrol, and you need that. But they talk about the universe and they don't know anything. They're children, they're toddlers. So there's only a certain amount you can learn there. You have to go elsewhere, which is hard to do in the Western culture because you're trained to think a certain way. Whereas in the Eastern cultures, they're a bit more mature and they allow for ambiguities and things, even though we don't know exactly what it is. But in the Western culture with science, I had to let it go that they don't know what they don't know, and you can't change that because you're locked in. There's certain places you can't take mechanics. So I had to move from there to another industry. And then I would do this from place to place, and I'd realise, these people are locked in. They're very good at one thing, but the overall arc of being the human being, it's all connected. So if you're a scientist and you don't train weights, you're limited in who you are because you don't know about what you think and what your weaknesses are, and you have to put a fire on that before you. So if you've gone
like a hench scientist,
no, I don't mean that in terms of bulking up. It's you don't know anything about yourself. You haven't self-analyzed, like putting a flame to it, and you only do that with. You can't do it in Western society nowadays because unless you go to war. The only place you can do it is like going to a gym and know, actually, I quit and I don't follow things through and I don't do that. You can't know that. If you've gone from school to college, university, and you science, you ain't got a clue about. You don't know how to expand your mind. One of the persons I did admire was Carl Sagan as a scientist. That's one person I latched onto when I was trying to learn about science. Yeah. And he wrote an article, I think it was called Mr. X, and it didn't get published by his wife till he died. And he was talking about smoking weed. Which, scientists, if you haven't smoked weed to try to expand your mind, then you're not a scientist, mate. These people that are on the BBC and they've gone from professorship to this and that, and you go, you don't know anything about your mind. You're talking about, well, I don't believe in marijuana, is this and that. And you go, but you're supposed to be a scientist, aren't you? Sort of a seeker for truth and honesty. You know nothing. You've just gone from job to job. You know nothing. And they don't know about expanding your mind and how you have to think outside the box. It's just they're locked in. So I can't even learn from science anymore because I realise they're children. So Carl Sagan was one of the people I did lock onto because he said, from my life lead in science, which is most scientists admire him, by the way, astrologers, everybody.
Yeah.
But they don't like the bit where he says, I genuinely believe at the end of his life that there's parts of knowledge that cannot be accessed without chemicals. That he said, I genuinely believe that at the end of my life, but they don't want to believe that. What they want to do is go from college to professorship and get my grant and do the thing. They're not really interested in expanding the mind or let me try with drugs to see what happens and how
I have a friend, and he has often said that
is this I have a friend?
I have a friend. He's a good friend, and he said that hallucinogenic drugs, in particular magic mushrooms and stuff, are an interesting lesson to teach you that your senses are very relative and can lie to you, basically. And he said that that's an important lesson to learn, that actually the input to the information that you're absorbing and the way that you see the world is completely relative and up to you and can just be dramatically altered with chemicals or whatever, but also with different perceptions and the way your brain chemistry works. So everyone's perception is completely different. Everyone's view of the world is completely different. The way we absorb information is completely different. Hence, I was thinking about this the other day, because we all ostensibly have the same brain makeup. Our bodies are almost the same. The brain's the same. Body's the same. We're all people and we grow up and hopefully and die and whatever. But we don't all like the same things. No. Because otherwise there'd be one film and everyone would like the film. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that would be the film that everyone watched, and everyone would like the song, and then everyone would like that song, and everyone would like the same food. But we don't, and it's miraculous. I know that there's lots of biological and social conditioning and stuff and going on, but I think it's remarkable, the divergence of opinions, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what keeps the society alive, being a mongrel. We all are varied, so varied that one thing can get knocked off and it doesn't knock us all off. Yeah.
I suppose that is a biological thing.
But you look, there was in the 50s, before LSD and all that become banned, when they were actually doing studies on it, that was doing miraculous things to psychology. Like it was giving people doses and understanding, but even like PTSD and things like that, and finding out. There was a woman, I don't know if she was married to Clark Gable or something like that, and she had a drink problem, and she said she took acid or LSD one day, and she saw a picture of her dead son in the mirror looking at her, And she said, I'd never thought about it till that moment that I've been guilty. I felt guilty about getting rid of that child the whole time. She saw the picture of the baby looking back at her. And
what do you mean, a picture of her dead?
She had an abortion.
I see, okay.
And she's in her like 40s or something at the time. Yeah. She said took LSD and she looked in the mirror and she saw a picture, and then that changed her life because it was the things that you can't get to because of all the pilot.
That just sounds like a...
No, but I mean, what was happening at the time, LSD was being used to treat people.
Yeah.
And it was doing, literally, if you read it, it was doing miraculous things, but it was only when things become drugs and they started using drugs for politics.
Opium was used as...
Yeah, all these things, cocaine and stuff, these all, marijuana, they're all painkillers, aren't they? So.
Yeah. But if you look at what's happening now with things like ayahuasca and all these things, do you know about ayahuasca? No, DMT and all that. It's all these drugs people are taking, which it sounds... It's going to lead you down the wrong path, but in the rainforest, taking a drug and having a trip and all that, they're mostly just hallucinogenic stuff. But then these things called ayahuasca that people have started drinking this certain type of drink, and people are just like flipping out, and it's changing their life. And it's been going on for about 6-7 years now, well, longer actually.
It's a traditional kind of thing, isn't it?
But it's different to sort of just smoking a herb, and it's like it's taking people to places where they're speaking to themselves. And people are just coming back and going, what the fuck? And it's everyone, mate. Journalists have gone out there, lawyers are going like people to me, and they're going, what the fuck was that? Like, that was like incredible. Mm-hmm. It's starting to get watered down now because people start doing it over here in rooms, and it doesn't work because there's a whole 2-day process towards it. But the problem is that there's the bigger problem that fixes all this is spirituality. But I can't talk about it now. But it's like I have to sort of jump past it, even though that's the bigger thing. Because you're not really you. You're something else sitting inside you. And it's way back past your subconscious. And your subconscious, just once you get to there, you're now an ape. It's the mammalian brain, all that sort of stuff.
Your lizard brain.
Right up to what colour you like and music you like at the front. You go right to the back where it's got the vision and the sound and all that. But it's a thing sitting inside you that I knew from a kid. You're just sitting in this thing now because you need this lump of material to exist, and you need time around it to exist in that thing. So time itself is an illusion. It doesn't exist. It's been created, and that's a bubble that you're locked in, and you can't get out of it because you need it. And your body is basically a spacesuit, so you can experience what you're experiencing. What you see in the mirror is nothing. It's a car you're sitting in. It's a spacesuit, so you can exist inside time, but you need the time to experience everything. It's what locks everything down. So there's all these layers behind it, but you have to accept with personal development, and I don't say this to people who are doing it, but you have to know they're an ape. And I had 15 years working in security and very, very few scars, worked in the worst places. And people say, how did you do this and how did you work there for all that time and nothing happened? I'd come into a club and be the head doorman and go from fights every night to none. And you go, because I understand that you're basically a load of apes. We're all apes. Mm-hmm. So all you do is you know what an ape does. It's like you're looking at an ape in the jungle. It's a bit more complicated, a bit nuanced, but you're basically an ape. Mm. Like I was saying to you earlier about not getting shot, and you just turn your back.
That was before the recording.
Was that before the recording?
Yeah, in case
somebody pointed a gun at you once.
That bit.
So you just turn their back because you're constantly making messages to each other with how you're looking.
Yeah.
If you just turn away, somebody has to, the pressure's all on him now, so you have to make a decision. Plus, he's getting nothing back. So it's like, well, I either just kill this person, or it does make it if you're there, ego gets involved. So when you understand you're an ape, going back to the Ulysses Impact, which is the first thing about personal development, forget the spirituality, even though you have to sort of work on that around it. You have to go, I'm here because of choices I chose to be this. If everything was shit, I chose to be here. If bad things happen, and you can work around there. But again, what did I choose to work around like that? Work around the problem. And when you know that you're actually a machine, that you can operate the levers, and sometimes yours doesn't work the better way that way. Sometimes you're just like a Schwarzenegger figure who's just go, 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 go. I'm not thinking about anything else. Fuck everyone, go, go. Don't care what I have to give up. If you're not that, you have to go, right, well, I'm not that. What am I? I'm most people. I'm actually fucking insecure and I'm full of shit and I pretend I'm a bit better and I pretend I'm a bit happier and I pretend and I pretend and I pretend. So you're constantly living your life through other people's eyes. You have to be very honest and go, well, it's a good thing to it because you go, okay, I'm very honest. I'm overweight and I've got no fucking money and I'm pissed off and the family thing. And now you go, yeah, so you can actually change everything because you chose to be here.
Yeah.
You chose to be here. You didn't do those things. You didn't do that thing. You didn't do that thing. You ate too many of them. You did that. You didn't do that. You didn't do that. You chose it. I don't want to take any risk. I don't want to. So you chose to be where you are. The good thing is you can choose to get out of it, and it can be as miraculous. All we have to do is start pulling the levers. But the first thing is to understand I'm an ape. I'm sitting inside a body. This body now, from what I've inherited, has proclivities towards this. I'm lazy. I can't do this. I'm better at that. I'm not good at that. And then you just start moving the levers around.
Yeah.
And you can be whoever you want to be next year. That's it. And then it goes on autopilot, and then you become that person. And now you don't have to keep on moving all those gears because now it's all in place. And now what do you want to do? Now I want to have this thing. Right, now you need to move the gears around that. And it's to do with people and letting go of the things and having things and adding things on. But it's like easy. But all the answers are inside you. It's just you don't have enough confidence in yourself, and you haven't seen it happen. You don't have any belief that things do change. So there's all these things intermingled with it. But it's basically understanding you're an ape.
I think that's a really interesting idea. I question potentially whether we are always in charge of our own lives and the decisions we make. But I do believe that, I suppose the idea of self-actualization, this self-awareness, is the acceptance that you do have agency to change things. And a lot of the time you think, oh, I grew up this way, oh, I'm here, oh, I have this a job, oh, I have this relationship, I'm from a poor background, I have this, I don't have opportunities. It's a perception that your horizons are maybe limited due to social circumstances, personal circumstances, biological circumstances. But in order it is possible to, by accepting one's own agency, i.e. the fact that you can change things. You don't have to be a slave to your environment. You know what I mean? You can change things, and that's, I suppose, what you're trying to say.
No, as bad as it sounds, it's beautiful because you can actually change things.
Yes, you can.
The fact you're questioning
you become aware. You become aware that actually, I can change things.
Yeah, the gift.
I don't need to just
if
write.
If you are questioning it,
the way.
That's it. You've started. It's if you don't give a shit, and I've never thought of an introspection, then you're fucked.
Yes.
But the fact you're questioning it is beautiful. That's it.
Yes.
This is the day. So it doesn't matter what's happened. And I've said to people before, you have to understand, and it's very philosophical, and I don't like sounding like this, but it's more scientific than anything. And spoken about birthdays and things like that, but you have to let go of anything to do with your past. Like, you're not you. That person died. You know, that person last week, 10 years ago, that's dead. Don't keep thinking about yourself as this life from past to now, because it's no...
I do sometimes refer to, if I do something, I go, oh, old Andrew wouldn't have done that. And there's not a specific time.
Yeah, but my point is, you have nothing to do with that person.
No.
Nothing could be changed, nothing could be done. As I've said to other people, you may as well be talking about a film. Well, when's the Terminator come back? What are you talking about? Well, that's a fucking film. It's got nothing to do with anything. It's made up. It's electrical impulses in your head. It does not touch you. So let that go, and now understand your life is now going forward. That's all you can control. So stop thinking about the thing and the past. You can't. It's like thinking about a brick wall. Like, I saw a brick wall. It serves no purpose. It does nothing. I know it's romantic and it makes us feel good and it gives us emotions, good and bad. And if it is bad, let it go. But it's nothing to do with you anymore. It's nothing to do. So your life is now going forward. That's what your life is. So why are you thinking about something that's nothing to do with you? You're not that 2-year-old kid. That doesn't exist. That 10-year-old, that 20-year-old, that person does not exist. They're not even dead. They evaporated and they're gone. They do not exist. So why you think about that? All your control is now going forward. You need to think about that fucking person.
Yeah.
Stop dragging everything else behind you.
I suppose the past is a theoretical concept, just like the future.
I don't understand why people think it's like, what are you talking? It's this thing again. I've come from the outside, so I don't know. I haven't learned.
I mean, try and use that change for good, though. People, don't be Darth Vader saying Anakin Skywalker is dead. That name has no meaning.
No. I mean, if there's good things, fine, use them, but don't go, well, my life. You go, what are you talking about? You might as well talk about my background. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So, but that's the good thing, is to know that anything can be changed and you can go from nowhere. It's just how much are you willing to do?
Yeah.
And if I got a Schwarzenegger's brain and bunged it in yours, you'd immediately go off in that direction. It's nothing to do with you as a biological person. It's how you think about what you can achieve. The problem with it is because nobody believes things can actually change. We see people on the TV that are special.
Yeah.
We don't see the story behind how they got there. So it's just, that's what my personal development when I'm teaching is to do something where people can look at what I did and how I got there and go, right, he fucking had no luck, done it all on his own, had no money. So I've got no excuses now. Yeah. Lived on the street, you know, left home with violent right back from fucking toddler. It's only bad. So, well, if he's had that life, then why can't I start a shop and I want to be an actress or a hairdresser like that? The horror that I've had to go through with no help. So you can flip things up, but to start with, you've got to be honest. You've got to go, what am I? What's wrong with? Don't just try and go, well, my life is what it is, and I'm going to try and bolt some things on and go to a new yoga class. It's not going to change anything. You've got to change if you've got a problem, if you're learning about personal development, that means you've got problems. It's not, so admit that. But it's about, it's just being honest. And so we could get into the thing about the ape brain and the spirituality behind it, but you don't even really have to worry about that if there's no need. But the main thing is just understand you're on autopilot, you're an ape, and you're sat in whatever you're sat in because of birth and neurology and all that you've been given. And you just work the levers around that thing and you steer the ship. You're not you. You're the thing that you sit in. And you've got to go, what's wrong with this? What is good with this thing that I can use? And start moving the levers around it. And I always say the main thing with people doing anything is you're probably not that self-confident in yourself. And it's fine to go, I can't do this on my own. Let me find somebody else that also wants to do something, because then I'll get off my arse when I know there's somebody else doing something that I then have to do my bit. That's fine. If you're a lazy son of a bitch and you go, I do want to do something, but I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm like, forget the diet and all that would have to be changed. But you go, I don't know, I can't. I don't know. And you go, do you know what you do? You find somebody else that also feels, but they can do something different than you do. And now you feel a little bit better about yourself. Now you've got somebody to answer to, and he's got somebody to answer to. Yeah. And now you get a third person, and now suddenly
being
it starts
accountable
moving.
is often
even if you're just a lazy bastard, that's fine. Most people aren't going to. But if you know there's other 3 people you've got to meet next week to do this thing, you'll then go, oh, I better do that thing. And then once you get the ball rolling, self-esteem then kicks in, and it starts to stoke the fire. Now you start to enjoy it, and it's not this, oh, I don't know what to do. All the doors are closed to me. But so even that's fine. Be a lazy fucking. But as long as you're questioning it, means you do want to do something. Yeah. If you sat here and somebody going, "Oh, shut the fuck up! I don't care. I just want to go and have a fag," you go, "Okay, well then it's not for you." It's not trying to sell it to everybody, which is what personal development is. Look, come to me and I'll do everything for you. But it's that this is what I mean. It's all about following that person. And I keep saying, you don't follow me. It's not about that. I've just put a story out there. You don't follow anything I did. I might be able to tell you about doing a podcast or put in a magazine, but that you've got to find your right. If you try and do that and you're not interested in it, you're just going to go nowhere. Yeah. And I'm not special, and it's why I keep saying about the bad bits of me and not the bad bits of I'm poor, like the shitty bits, the sleeping in the fucking churchyard and pathetic fucking things, because it's fine. That's life. That's leading life. And once you know that you can have that life and achieve something, that knowing that is what teaches people. Now you find your own way. But you do need things like health and spirituality. You need to have some sort of fucking money coming in. In fact, our one, the wealth, Kim Stevenson, who's financial psychologist. I think he's only one in the world. Financial psychologist. Financial psychologist, yeah. And it took him a while.
What does that?
Well, the idea is that it's not the money's not the like he was when I started the magazine. I was saying to him, right, could we do something about obscure ways of making money, like art? If you haven't got money, but invest in a piece of artwork. And he was saying to me, no, you're still not getting it. The money's not the problem. You've got to control the money. Don't allow it to dictate what you can do. Having the money isn't going to solve things. You need a little bit of money to live, but you don't need to be investing in property. That's not about that. You have to control the money. And I've sort of done it accidentally with, if I get 10 quid, I have to make it do 100 quid's worth of work. I don't go, well, I need £1,000 to do something. I think, what does something cost £1,000? Right. I've got to figure out how to have what I've got and get £1,000 worth out of it to do something. I mean, we've talked things we've done with the pilot where you need a location. What does it cost? Well, it costs that amount, 1,800 quid. Well, I haven't got 1,800 quid. Right, so how do I get around that? It can't be, I need money to make things happen. And when you do things and you realise, oh, you don't need money, you just need to do things. And when I was not living on the streets, to come out of it, I would literally leave the house with no money and come back with a couple hundred quid without dealing drugs. Yeah. Because my brain had assimilated to the fact of I've got nothing, but I need to pay for rent. So I wouldn't do anything until like the 27th of the month, and then figure, right, how do I get the money for the rent? But I'd know because of how my brain worked, and I knew this is what I used to do. So I'd go, I'll meet somebody and he's got a broken VCR. Right, I take that to so and so and get it fixed, and then I'll sell it to who so and so, and then I bring it back to him, and then I give him a cut. And then with that money, there's a car up the road. Somebody said they want a car, and it's 200 quid. I'll go to the guy. I'll say, look, I'm here now. I've got 150 quid. If you want it, come and get it. I'll get it. I'll spend 10 quid, clean it up, take it to him, sell it to 400. I do that every day. So your brain becomes used to the fact of not needing certain things. There are ways around stuff. So the psychology is about the money isn't the problem. The problem is how you use money. And that's what the financial psychology. So you need money. You need money to live. It's not like, but you need spirituality, health, wealth, and culture. And even though I write the spirituality section, it's more psychology because I realise you have to word it. As long as you're getting the message, it doesn't matter. So I just put it in psychological terms, but it's basically takes you down the same road. But you need those things. The culture thing, I mean, you go, well, the culture. You go, no, you need to understand you're not what you know. So even when I was putting the magazine together, I didn't know about culture, I didn't know about art or history. I thought it was nothing to do with me, even though that personal development was my thing. And it's only when people got introduced in my life and introduced me to things that I thought, I'm not fucking interested in that. Then I started to go, oh, right. And what learning about different things did, forced upon me, was make me realise, oh, I'm not that person that's interested in those things there. Everything's interesting. It's just I'm delusional. I thought it's not. Certain things are only interesting to certain people. It's only because you don't know. I could show you a ballet or whatever, and you go, Jesus Christ, I've got to sit through 3 hours of this, and it'd be shit and it'd be boring. But if before that I sent you to a ballet school, I said, you're just going to be here for a year and you're going to talk to that head teacher of the Royal Ballet, and you're going to learn about the history, and you're going to meet some people, and you're going to hear about a Cuban girl that came here. And now she's here. She's going to tell you she was inspired by somebody, and you went away and read that book. And it's all. And then you went and watched the ballet. You'd go, oh, I know why they make that move there. I know what that story means. I know that the composer that did that thing. Yeah. And then you'd go, oh, the world is interesting. I just fucking thought like you're only interested in certain things. It's because you haven't got any. I said to somebody recently, if you watch bin men, put bins out. You go, right, there's the bins. They go collect them. If you had to do the job for a week, and you learnt what bin did what and the problems they have because of people parking or not putting bins here or the rules that they had to do, and you stuck with them a week, and you realise, oh, that bin that flips like that splashes on them, they use those bags, so that causes them problems there, or like I said, the wheelie bins without the wheels that do the thing. If you stuck with them for a week, and then you suddenly went back and you saw bin men doing stuff, you'd suddenly become, oh, don't think because that causes a problem. Oh, you know that thing that he wears there, that's because that happens. You know that bin there we should never do because that So everything's interesting. It's just you've got no reference points for it. So you think, well, I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested in what I've done so far.
I talked to my postman last month, a couple of months ago, and he was telling me about different letterbox types.
Oh, right, yeah.
And like how difficult it was to post different letterboxes. He was saying, he was saying, certain ones are annoying and certain ones are difficult.
Just even
they screw up all the letters and stuff. And I was like, I didn't really think about that.
No, that's what I mean. So the culture thing was put in because if you have to be forced to make it interesting to you. So then you go, oh, I'm interested in things, which then leads you into looking yourself at the world because now you know. So it's sort of taking the visor. So when we put art and cooking in there, like the cooking bits, cooking for those who can't cook, that's who it's designed for. It's not for people who can cook, it's for people who can't cook. So everything in there is designed for people that aren't interested in cooking and don't know how to cook and don't know what things are. That's for you. With the hope that somebody reads the art section, somebody reads about the music, somebody reads about the cooking, and maybe you go to the cooking bit more than the art thing. But somewhere along the line, it teaches you the world is interesting. So that's what the culture, but even though it's not, it's about you wanting to learn. That's what it is.
That's what I like about print media is that it does give you a broad range of topics like magazines. I think this is what we're kind of missing in the internet age is that you click on articles that specifically you are interested in. Whereas, I mean, for instance, newspapers, I used to buy a newspaper and I used to not necessarily read every article, but flip through it, read the headlines, flick through a bit, and you look at the pictures and stuff. Oh, what's all that about? And like I would read about stuff that I wouldn't necessarily, that I don't read about now, because I had more of a. I think they give you more of a holistic. They used to give you more of a holistic view of the world and what was happening, and I don't feel that anymore because clickbaity titles, targeted advertising, and they know what's working, what people want to read, and they are putting articles more like that more.
Yeah, when I think about the fact of them
again, they're giving people what they want to hear.
Yeah,
rather than actually what's
expanding your mind.
Yeah.
When I think about when they say, "Oh, we'll give people more what they want and it helps you," I go, "That's the fucking worst thing in the world." That's sort of like with our genetic code. If we all started going, right, let's all get down to a single genetic code. You go, no, you can't do that. That's what's going to kill us. You go, well, we're going to give you more what you like and we're going to cut out the rest. You go, but then you're making people horrendously ignorant. Like, why are we going down this road? I want to see a load of films out and go, what one's that in the middle? Rather than just look at horror or look at a thing, I want something to pop out. So to think that they're going, oh no, we've got this amazing thing where we can filter out everything you don't want to know. You go, are you fucking crazy? Yeah. That's the last thing you want to do with people. And that's when you start getting racism popped up and things like that.
Well, just even small things like the algorithm on Netflix. I mean, just because you click on one thing, it all of a sudden comes up with, oh, you must like horror films, and just bombard you with horror films. It's like, but I like lots of other stuff. You know what I mean? I like a broad range of stuff. And like sometimes I have to go through all the menus quite far down, and then it goes, 60% percentage like, and I'm like, no, I really do like that. That's an amazing thing. I thought
it's horrendous to me that would be an idea to do that, but it makes money. I think so. That's all they care about is making money.
Again, it's sort of front loading, top loading what they want you to.
So the magazine was actually, as I said to the editor and everyone else, it has to be designed for people that aren't into this industry. That's what I'm aiming for.
Yeah,
and it all has to be bled into a certain way so it makes sense and also it's clunky. And I've got to pause the show there.
Yeah,
because there's going to be a part 2.
Oh, is that?
Yeah. Because it's a big thing. It's not.
So we're leaving are we leaving on a cliffhanger then?
And the killer was
no. What could be a cliffhanger? Personal development.
Why is it personal development 2.0?
That is a story actually. It's not everything. Yeah. Everything that's on there is for a reason.
The future.
Even the 2.0. No.
Personal development.
No. So come back and you'll find out why it's called personal development 2.
Does that mean there was a secret 1.0? Is this
no.
Moon?
I wasn't going to use
out there or other clothes?
It was just going to be personal development. It's a computerized term, obviously, but it sort of worked for what I was trying to do, which I'll start the show with next time.
Okay.
On the Vialucci Podcast.
Next time. Dun, dun.
Charles, you all right?
Yeah.
How you doing, mate?
Good. Very, very well, thank you. Yeah. No, I've had
I've got 2 jumpers. I've got a jumper and a shirt to bring in. Everyone's pilfered the rest of them off, so you might get to a new bit of clothing next time.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
I think I know who each one would be for, but I can't see who. Andrew, all right, mate?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the what do you call them?
The advent
calendars that you showered this team with the advent calendars.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
It's already finished, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll see you next week then, mate, for part 2.
Yeah. What a weird ending to the show that was.
That was.
I'll be honest there.
Let's just say bye then.
All right. Bye everyone. Bye.